failure is a stepping stone to success.
Fail your way to success.
Failure.
Failure is a part of the learning process.
Success is moving from one failure to the next.
To get past your failure, you've got to go through the failure.
Success is merely the hangover of failure.
You should seek failures.
Learn from those mistakes and get smarter.
Hello, Believe Nation. My name is Evan Carmichael. My one word is believe, and I believe that entrepreneurs are going to solve all the major problems of the world. So to help you on your journey, today we're going to learn how you can turn failure into success. And as always, guys, if you hear something that really resonates with you, please leave it down in the comments below. Put quotes around it so other people can be inspired as well. And when you write it down, it's much more likely to stick for yourself too. Enjoy.
Failure is part of life. I mean, the difference for me though is I look at failure as a stepping stone to success. It's a speed bump. I know I'm going to fail, but it's not failure if you learn something. And so, gosh, I've made so many mistakes. I've screwed so many things up, but every time I do, it just becomes a way for me to explain to someone else what it takes. You know, it's like, here's what I've done. I think I have the ability to influence people because I talk about my failures. I talk about all the things that messed me up. But I show people that I didn't let it stop me, and you don't let it stop you. And I think that's really the secret in that area.
And if everything you touch was successful, you probably won't be able to relate to people as much.
No, you'll be relate, and also it's be total bullshit, and everyone knows it's bullshit. And also you'd be bored silly. Right. I mean, think about it. If you just said, "I want this and happen," I want this and it happen, you know, people don't value what they don't fight for. You know, it's like you see kids sometimes in it, you know, your parents will say, "You're not going to value this if you don't work for it." And your kid going, "I'll value it, just give it to me," right? But it's true. Yeah. You know, the things we've worked the hardest for, we value the most. Yeah. So I think, you know, the purpose of a goal is not getting it anyway. The purpose of a goal, you know, is who you become. Who you become is going to make you happy or it's going to make you sad. Yeah. So I'm not looking for an effortless approach. Sure. There's no such thing.
If you constantly remind yourself, after every defeat, after every setback, every time you get knocked down, I've got a saying, if life knocks you down, try and land on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up. See, a lot of people, because of failure, they stop believing. Let me share something with you. You will fail your way to success. Yes. 8 out of 10 millionaires have been financially bankrupt. You will fail your way to success. It doesn't matter how many times you fail. It doesn't matter how many times people tell you that you can't do it. It doesn't matter if you don't have a dime in the bank. You will fail your way to success.
I've learned more from failures than success. And it can be paralyzing, this failure and the fear of it. My first album I made was an album called Reasonable Doubt, which in the small circles was considered the album, like a classic album, like the album for that generation in the voice of, you know, people that were going through similar situations. But it didn't sell massive numbers worldwide, right? It was still very niche. Then my second album, because of, you know, Reasonable Doubt and its lack of commercial success, you know, I tried to make these records that were bigger and will be more popular, which was a failure. Going for that success really messed up that project and, you know, set a bad tone. It was a huge learning lesson for me that if I was going to be successful, I had to be successful with myself. I couldn't be successful doing what other people were doing. I had to do what I believed in and what felt real to me and felt true to me.
Failure is a part of the learning process, right? What's the risk of failure? What, you'll be embarrassed, or risk of failure? How do you distinguish failure from learning? In your whole life, you know, failure implies that it stopped, that the game stops, right? If it's part of you're failing and then you learn, then that learning is part of the moving forward, right? So that is what the process is like. Fail, learn, move forward, and constantly do that because you're cutting edge. You're going where people haven't been before in inventiveness.
If you say, I'm a fraud, they'll figure me out, I'll never be able to do it again, that's an artist's thought process. You're an artist. If you're thinking like that, you're on the right track, because they all feel that. So there's always some success that can come out even out of your failures. In fact, probably your biggest successes will come directly from your failures. So you should almost take that. Winston Churchill's quote is my favorite. Success is moving from one failure to the next with great enthusiasm. You should be very enthusiastic about your failures because you're going to learn something. You're going to go that way where everyone else is going that way. And you're going to stumble, but you're also going to stumble upon something that no one ever thought of. So, you just keep going and keep going. And you're going to fail and then rise up and fail again. And that's the journey, up and down, man.
You don't make excuses for the failure, you grieve it. You feel the pain. You don't brush it off, you don't downplay it. You feel the pain and you don't rush to feel better. Now, listen, this is a principle of life I'm about to tell you. To get past it, you gotta go through it. That's true in so many areas, but it's particularly true with failure. To get past your failure, that failure in your life, you gotta go through it. You can't go around your failure, you can't go over your failure, you can't go under your failure, you can't ignore your failure. You need to grieve the failure. You need to feel the pain. Now, we don't like feeling bad, but grief is a good thing. Grief is the way we get through the failure, and grief is the way we learn the lessons. So often, we want to just, when we fail, we want to just forget it, push it aside, stuff our emotions, and then immediately go to the next thing. When you stuff your emotions, when you swallow your emotions, your stomach keeps score. It's kind of like, what if you took a can of Coke and you shook it up for a long time and then you put it in the freezer? What's going to happen to it? It's going to explode eventually. It's going to come out sideways. And this happens in your life when you don't deal with your emotions properly. This is why sometimes 6 months after failure, a marriage falls apart. Or 6 months after somebody gets laid off work, there's another problem. There's a physical health problem, things like this. Because you've shaken up the can and you've got all these emotions feeling inside of shame and regret and fear and insecurity and all the things that come with failure, and you're not dealing with them. And so you shake it up and you say, we're just gonna put this in the refrigerator and try to forget about it, and we're gonna freeze it, and it's gonna explode, and it's gonna come out sideways in an affair or in wrong behavior or an impulsivity or an addiction or all kinds of other things. I have seen this thousands of times in people's lives. You don't minimize it, you don't rush to feel better. To get past your failure, you've gotta go through the failure.
And my mentality is like, I have a I don't lose mentality. And that's with anything. That's not just like, say, a sporting event or whatever. That's just life, right? Because life is nonstop tests, you know what I mean? And we're always being put to the test. There's always challenges, obstacles, etc. And I literally don't accept any of that as an impediment, as a negative. It's like, good, this is gonna make me stronger. I'm gonna learn something from this.
I think the best advice that I could give you on success is to know that success is merely the hangover of failure. And that failure is an essential ingredient in creating a learning atmosphere for you, so that you can accrue those learnings, those small incremental steps of failure, and collect enough learning so that you can arrive at success, right? I think we're taught in the system that failure is something that you should be ashamed of. Failure is for the dumb kids, because you get an F or you get a D, right? You're not competent. You didn't comply. You didn't create the evidence of your worthiness. And I could tell you, as someone who's successful, right, both financially and from a wealth creation point of view, but more importantly, a wealth that matters, that success doesn't look like an A+. It doesn't look like 110 in extra credit. And failure isn't as simple as an F. And it's not always, like failure could be very gray, right? And being able to discern what you might arrive at an event or in your life where you think that, wow, I've succeeded. And you're getting the affirmation from all these outside forces. But if it's not aligned authentically with to who and what you are, it could very much feel like failure.
You're gonna fail. It's okay. Okay? You're gonna fail. And I'm not talking about the tests. It's one thing. I'm talking about to your knees, your skin, bloody, fail. And that's okay, because you know what? You know down deep inside of all of you, that's how you learn. You need to be motivated by failure. How'd you learn how to walk? You crawled, then you fell down, busted your tooth. Got some blood in your mouth, you get up and you walk, right? Self-directed.
You should seek failures. See, if you're playing it safe, you're not going to win. If you're playing it safe, like that old saying, you know, you were taught when you're a little girl, better to be safe than sorry. Well, that's a bunch of crap. It's not better to be safe than sorry. It's by trying things that you figure out how far you can go. You got to get outside the box. Like it's reported, Edison tried 3,000 ways before he built the incandescent light. He said he didn't fail 3,000 times. He said there was 3,000 different steps to building a light bulb. Well, there's different steps to get to where you're going. And I really do treat winning and losing exactly the same. I do not let it upset me.
Do you think that's a big part of why you're so successful?
Well, it's part of why I enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it is, because I'll try anything. Like if I'm into an idea, the idea of losing never enters my mind. See, I have worked with giants. I had the good fortune of working with Sir Edmund Hillary. He was the first man to stand on top of the world. And I worked with him on 3 different occasions. And the only difference in Ed Hillary and Bob Proctor is in his size. Now, he's gone now, but he was a big man. When he shook hands with me, his hand wrapped right around mine. I felt like a dwarf, you know. And in talking to him, like it never entered his mind he wouldn't get to the top of the mountain, but he failed in 1951, he failed in 1952. It wasn't until 1953 that he got to the top of the mountain. Now, people had died for centuries trying to do that. But he said, I knew if I could see it in here, I could hold it out here. Stella Mann wrote that in a book. If you can see it in your head, you can hold it in your hand. And that's right. And if you're not prepared to lose, you're never going to win, because you're always playing it safe. And there's no reward in that.
I'm a woman in business, so are you,
right.
and it's great because they're different personalities, successful. Be yourself, take care of business.
Be yourself.
Go for it,
Yes.
get out there. But it can be bumpy along the way. Any regrets or mistakes that you feel you've kind of hit through the years?
Well, you know, I share certain bumps that I've had in the book. I think that, you know, I don't like to look back. There are no mistakes, really. Everything is a learning lesson. Everything helps you to do better.
Right.
So I talk about some of the mistakes that I made, and it just helps you to get further along, learn from those mistakes, and get smarter.
Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'd love to know, what was your biggest takeaway from this video? What are you going to immediately apply somehow to your life or to your business? Leave it down in the comments below. I'm super curious to find out. I also want to give a quick shout out to Wesley Lavender from fullyoptimized.org. Wesley, thank you so much for picking up a copy of my book, Your One Word. It really, really means a lot to me, and I hope you're enjoying the read. So thank you guys again for watching. I believe in you. I hope you continue to believe in yourself and whatever your one word is. Much love. I'll see you soon.